Okay, you guys. So this is week 2. We are recording. We are going to go over levels 1 and level 2. This is a super important um, section of the levels because most people that you either that's on the call or that you lead are going to fall in these two levels. So truly understanding these two levels, learning how to move from them, that is going to be key. Okay. So last week we talked about the foundation of leadership, understanding that leadership isn't necessarily a title or a role. It's influence and growth of that leadership, of that influence. It is a choice. And it's one that we have control over, which is a beautiful thing, right? So like I said, we're going to dive into level 1 and level 2, which is position and permission. So level 1 is the entry point of leadership. It's kind of where you start, right? It's the position. We're going to go deep into this. Level 2 is permission. It's where leadership becomes a little bit more personal, okay? So I view a level 1 positional leadership as like a manager. Okay, have you ever worked underneath a manager before? Okay, there's not really, it's usually not super personal. It's, oh, that's just my manager. I have to listen to them because that's my manager, right? That's a perfect example of a positional leadership. Permission is when you start to really trust and value and are led by this person because you have seen them do their job, do it well, and perform well. Okay, so level 1 is people are following you because they feel like they have to. Okay, and listen to those words that I chose, because they feel like they have to. Okay, not because they have to, but because they feel like they do. Okay, level 2 is people following you because they want to. Okay, they want to follow you, they want to walk into your footsteps. Okay, so we're going to learn this week as you apply it. We'll have some questions at the end that you guys can pop into the chat. Please do that, guys. Please apply those questions that I send afterwards. It really gets your thoughts moving. But this week we're going to learn how to move from authority, which is positional, to relationship, which is permission. Okay? Okay? And I would argue that in order to reach anywhere from senior director to executive director, you have to be at least a level 2. So if you're on this call and you're like, hey, I'm new here, I got to figure this out. How do I move? How do I grow? Got to go through these steps, okay? Okay, so level 1, let's dive right in, okay? Level 1 is positional. This is the starting line of leadership. You get a title. Congrats, gold star, right? You're, senior brand partner, your independent brand partner. You clicked enroll. You have a title, right? Upline, that's a title. I enrolled somebody. I'm their upline. I'm their sponsor. Okay. People, if they're in your downline, that is a title. It's positional. At this stage, people are going to follow you because they feel like they gotta. They respect your role. Okay. But they don't necessarily respect you yet. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying necessarily they don't. Okay. They respect the role, but not necessarily do they have to respect you yet. Okay. And this is all normal. We start here. I can't tell you the number of conversations I had over the past week where it was like, gosh, I'm nervous about feeling like I'm at level 1, or I'm having to start over at level 1, or what is this? Hey, it's all normal. Anytime you do a job change, anytime you do a company switch, anytime you go to a new level, anytime that you enroll someone new, you typically start back at level 1. And like he said last week in the pages between 1 and 35, if you have the physical book, he says the more times you go through this, the faster you go through the levels. But if I were to enroll Sally Sue today and she enrolled with me just because of who I am on social, we don't really have a strong relationship, guess what level I start with her? 1. I start at level 1 with her. Okay, that's normal. I may go through those levels really quickly because I've done it a lot of times, but we all start here at level 1. Now, here's the problem. If you stay at level 1 for too long, you're going to start like feeling like your business is really heavy. Like it's like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to lift a dead weighted horse. It starts to feel like you're dragging people instead of leading people. Think rhetorically in your head. Have you ever felt that way? I know I have, where you're dragging people instead of leading people. That means you're typically stuck at level 1. Okay. So let's define level 1 in a couple of different ways. They give instructions instead of inspiration. Okay. They tell you what to do, but they don't inspire you to do more. Level 1 leaders often feel frustrated that others don't do what they should be doing. If you're looking at your downline and going, oh, gosh, I just wish they would do more. They should be doing more. Okay. Level 1 leader believes that their title automatically means that they have influence. Now, here's the crazy part, guys. I have personally seen over my 12 years of high ranked individuals, okay, even the equivalent of vice president or senior vice president, be level 1 leaders. And remember last week we talked about the accidental leadership. Nod your head if you remember that, the accidental leadership, when momentum happens, growth happens, and boom, bada bing, you've got a huge team underneath you, but your leadership quite hasn't caught up to that yet. It happens. Okay. But I've seen some people, they walk into a room and they might be the equivalent of senior vice president. And they're like, people should follow me just because I am this rank. Okay. Not necessarily, right? The truth is, title is going to give you authority. Sure, it gives you space, it gives you platform, it gives you that authority, not in a bad sense, but like, oh, people should listen to me, right? It comes with it. Like, I would listen to another SVP, senior vice president, just because of the title. Even if I didn't know them, I'd be like, oh, they've got to know something, right? They're there. Okay. It gives them the authority of that, but not necessarily the influence over me. Does that make sense? Right? Does that make sense? Okay. In network marketing, there's a huge difference between authority and influence. You cannot, and write this down, you cannot manage people into momentum. You can't do it. But what you can do, and honestly, what you have to do, is inspire them into action. So I'm going to say those 2 lines again. Write it down. You cannot manage people into momentum. You have to inspire them into action. And when you do that, you move into level 2. That's when you move to level 2. And we're going to go over some examples of how you do this. But first, we're going to go into level 2. Okay. Permission. Level 2 is where leadership shifts from being the positional to relational. So now you're moving into relationship. At this level, people follow you because they want to follow you. They trust you. They respect you. They know that you care. They trust that you will help them in some way. And typically that's tied to some sort of result. Okay. But this level, if you're wanting to move from level 1 to level 2, this level is built on one word: relationship. Relationship. Okay? Connection, relationship. John Maxwell says in this book, you can love people without leading them, but you cannot lead people without loving them. Okay, this right here, this quote reminds me of Aspen Emery. Okay, the first time I met her, the very first impression I got was, man, she loves people and she loves them hard. And that really stuck with me because it told me a lot about her leadership. You can love people without leading them, but you cannot lead people without loving them. Does your team know that you love them for who they are, where they are, not their production? Okay. If you're only checking in with your team, a couple of times throughout the month, or worse, if you're only checking in at the end of the month, right? If you're only checking in with your leaders at the end of the month, if you're only, is that reading that you love them? Sometimes not, right? Level 2 leaders, here's a couple little things here. Level 2 leaders listen before they lead. And you don't have to answer this, but maybe you rhetorically can answer it. Have you ever felt like someone was your leader or your upline in this case, or someone that was supposed to be your leader, but you just felt like they weren't even listening to you. They were just waiting to say what they wanted to say as soon as you shut up. Have you ever felt like someone has spoken to you that way, where they're not really listening? They're just like, oh, I know what I'm going to say next. Okay. That is usually a level 1 leader. A level 2 is going to go, okay, I hear you. I hear this. Okay, I do have some coaching, but let's listen to what the other person is saying. Okay. They're going to follow through on what they say. Okay. Here's a big one. They're going to celebrate people's efforts, not just their outcomes. Right? Many of you this month are in our chats for ED, SED push or VP and SVP push, especially in the ED and SED. What are we doing every day? We're celebrating effort. Every single day, we've got a poll in there that says, do these things, who's accomplishing it, right? It's not outcomes. We're not even result driven in that one, right? It's the effort that matters, okay? When people feel seen, they stay. Garrett McGraw says that all the time. It's not how much you care, it's how much people feel that you care. Are you helping them feel seen, heard, valued? When they feel seen, they stay. When they feel valued, they show up. Now, this is pretty important. You could skip this part and miss it. Think about, okay, I want you to think about retention for a second in your business. Okay, if you have a pretty decent retention, okay, so like a baseline of volume, whether that's, it's pretty easy for me to always hit 5,000, or it's pretty easy for me to always hit 10,000, or it's pretty standard for me to hit 30,000. That's kind of like your baseline, right? That means that those people there, they feel seen. So they're going to stick and stay when they feel seen. But when they feel connected, when they truly feel connected, when they feel like their presence adds value to the whole, when they feel like you value them as a human, they're going to produce, they're going to show up, they're going to act. So if you find yourself right now in a space that, okay, I'm feeling like I'm pretty good, but I'm just like this, I'm just tracking like this, Tara, I'm just trying, and you want growth, work on the connection piece. How can I'd be thinking in my head, okay, if I'm kind of trailing along, how can I make sure my people feel super connected together? How can I make my people feel super connected to me? How can I make people feel valued and connected to the whole? Because when they do, when that connection feels deep, that's when people act. That's when people show up. Okay. Many of you guys saw that even in August. Some of you were here, some of you were not. But in August, we were pushing together to hit silver executive vice presidents. I've never seen a chat like that in my life. I'd never seen something like that happen. But it's because there was so much connection to the whole. It wasn't connection to me. Yes, many of you are connected to me. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I am saying the obvious. But it was not about me. It was the connection to the whole. That they were like, man, we're doing this for the whole of the Brave Collective, right? Right now, as a company, we're pushing for 100 million as a company. Man, we're pushing together as a whole. And that's creating certain leaders in certain pockets who feel super valued and connected. They're showing up more for it. Does that make sense? Right? This is where real leadership begins, when you start crossing into level 2. Okay. So let's get practical. How do we move from level 1 to level 2? Okay. Here's some examples. And if you have an example and you feel like, hey, Tara, is this example? Put it in the chat, you guys. Feel free to put it in the chat. But level 1 says, hey, did you order yet? Don't forget about your PV. That's a level 1 leader. But a level 2 leader might say, hey, I noticed you haven't ordered yet. How are you feeling? Is there anything confusing that I can walk you through? Are you doing okay with your products? Do you see how it's addressing the same thing, but they're trying to work through the problem and connect with the person? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. See how level 1 is just pointing out the facts, level 2 is connecting? Right. So it's a shift from task checking to relationship building. When people feel guided, not graded, not corrected, they're going to grow faster. Okay, here's another example. Level 1 looks like dropping instructions in a chat. Hey, make sure you post today. Hey, you guys, Revive is out. I'm just going to go and screenshot or share the post from the big team chat, or I'm just going to go share the post from Bravenly Nation, and that be it. Just dropping it in. Level 2 looks like you send it, but then you add a private voice note, or you go and connect with your individual leaders. Okay, going back to the post example, make sure you post today. Okay, that's level 1. Level 2 might be like, hey, I saw your post yesterday. It was really good. I loved how you shared your story. Do you want help with the next one? See how you're working through things. You're brainstorming together. Okay. Here's another example. Level 1 expects people to all plug in the same way. If you expect people to, or if you're assuming that your team knows what to do or knows how to plug in, you're probably off base. Okay. I don't even expect my tippy top leaders to know everything. I can't make that assumption. Okay. Level 2 makes sure that they are plugged in accurately by connecting with the person to see where they are and make sure that they understand. Okay. And that takes some time. So as a leader, as you grow, you might be going, oh my gosh, Tara, how do I do that with all the people on my team? That's where layered leadership comes into play, guys. Can I physically message each and every one of you every single day? Oh my gosh, no, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. I wouldn't have time to go to the bathroom, okay? So instead, I connect with my frontline leaders and go, okay, hey, tell me about so-and-so. How are you going with this person? Or my level 1 leaders now know just to come to me and go, okay, Tara, here's an update. Here's this. Okay, let's work through it, right? Layered leadership where you check in through your leaders. Okay, it's also developing people underneath you. Okay, another example, level 1. Hey, you haven't ordered yet. Level 2 says, hey, I noticed that you haven't. Are you having issues with the products or the routine? Okay, that's an example for a customer, right? Another example is a level 1 only reaches out when it's close of the month. Hey, did you have a good month? Oh my gosh, let's go. Can you bring in another 400 volume? Okay, how would that make you feel? Right? If you never saw your leader in team chats, team page, but then at the very end, they were asking, what can you bring in? You'd probably feel like that person was in it for themselves. I'm just going to call it out, right? A level 2 is going to check in regularly, not every day, maybe once or twice a month, maybe weekly. Hey, just checking in, all good, right? And sometimes that's done through layered leadership. I might go into my level 1 and go, hey, tell me about so-and-so. Tell me about so-and-so. You guys don't know, but I ask about a vast majority of you on a weekly basis, right? You don't know I'm asking about you, but I am. But that's going through it, right? Consistency creates safety, and people are going to follow people who feel safe, okay? Okay. Last, level 1 is going to praise the leaderboard. Level 2 is going to praise the effort. We kind of talked about that. Recognition multiplies retention. It's kind of like parenting, guys. You want to highlight the stuff that you want your kids to do, right? The other day, I was having an issue with one of my sassy girls. Woo! I'm getting to that stage, a sassy. She was super sassy, and then the other day, she came up to me, and she was talking to me, and then she walked away. She's had a conversation with her sister, and I overheard it, and it was such polite, loving language that I had to pull her to the side and go, oh my gosh, I heard this language that was so good. I'm highlighting the things that I want to see more of, right? Same with your team. Highlight what you want to see. Don't necessarily harp on the stuff that you don't, okay? All right. When you do those small things consistently, when you're working through connection, people are going to feel like there's something deeper than a task list They're going to feel like they matter, that you see them. And that is that right there, that sentence that I just said is how you move from level 1 to level 2. That's it. That's it, guys. It's actually pretty simple to move from level 1 to level 2. But it does take effort, intention, and time. Okay? So I want you to think about your own team for a second. Who in your downline follows you because they have to? And who in your downline follows you because they want to? Okay? And Bravenly, a level 1 is going to look like, well, I added her to the chat, so she should know what to do because it's there. Okay? Level 2 says, no, I added her to the chat. Then I followed up with her, how she's feeling. Did she get the onboarding link? Did she work through the 14-day onboarding? What day is she on? What questions does she have? Connection, not just tasks. One feels like management and one feels like mentorship. Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. I'm drilling this down because it's so simple if you understand this, how to move from a 1 to a 2. Imagine, guys, if all of your brand partners could move from a 1 to a 2 because they are connecting with the team. Imagine what that would do to your team. Just imagine where people start showing up more because they feel connected. That alone could double your volume. That alone could double your volume. Okay? And it's not just about your volume, it's going to help them too. They're going to grow too, right? So I'm going to close with this. We're right on time. I want you to have this challenge for the week. I want you to identify one person that you might be leading from position. And I want you to shift that into permission. Even if you think you're a level 3 leader right now, there's probably somebody out there that you're leading from a level 1. Okay, it's normal, it's standard, okay? But I want you to work on shifting that to permission. So send them a message that has nothing to do with the business. Ask them how they're doing. Encourage them. Connect. Work through a problem. Oftentimes, working through a single problem will develop you into a level 2 with that particular person. Okay, so identify one person you're leading from level 1 and move to a level 2. The second thing I want you guys to do is identify one person who already trusts you. Okay, so you're already level 2 with them. And I want you to thank them. Write them a thank you note. Put it in the mail. Send them a voice note. Let them know how much you appreciate the partnership that they have given to you. They have given you permission to partner with them and how proud you are of them. Okay. And I want you to write a Post-it note somewhere where you can see it. Okay. This is your third thing. I want you to write a Post-it note somewhere where you're going to see it and just write the words connection over control. Connection over control. So often, and I will say I have done this and I struggle with it because I'm an Enneagram 3, a type A personality, very linear, that I feel like I've got to control everything. Raise your hand if you're a control freak like me. Maybe it's just me, but I am a control freak. Sometimes I get lost so much in having that organized control because it feels like chaos without it, right? That sometimes I have to go, slow down. Do you know something that I have made myself do because of this one notion, connection over control? I retrained myself to do something. And okay, so I'll explain it. Anytime I get a text message, because I'm so type A linear, that I'll see the text message and I go straight into responding or answering the question instead of connecting with the person. Hey, it's so good to hear from you. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry that happened, or I'm sorry you feel this way, or maybe they're having a stressful week, or I heard that your daughter had a great graduation, or whatever it may be, right? Because usually when you text message somebody, you're like, hey, hope you're doing well. Listen, I had a quick question, right? You see how you had that connection piece? Me, as a control type A, I struggle with this. And I'm like, I go straight into the response. So I've made this so on the forefront of my mind that I type it out. I type out my response. Before I hit send, I go back to the top of the message and write a personal sentence. Hey, good to hear from you. Not every text, because if you're in the middle of a conversation, that wouldn't make sense. But do you see what I'm saying? How make it intentional that you're connecting with the person rather than just controlling the conversation. Okay. The moment your leadership becomes personal, your leadership multiplies. When it becomes personal, your leadership multiplies. Guys, that does not mean you have to be besties with every person on your team. That does not mean that you have to give them hours on hours on hours of your time. Your time is the most precious piece that you own. I'm very protective of my time because I only have a little bit and I have a lot of people to serve, right? But I'm not saying you got to be besties. I'm not saying you have to like go give them all of your time, but you do have to make it personal. Get to know them, listen to them, hear them, let them vent, and then coach them through it, connect them through it, right? Next week, we're going to go into level 3 and 4. These are big ones. When you move to a 3, especially a 4, you can, I mean, that's when your business is popping, okay? And we're all going to get there, right? But remember, it all starts here. The strength of your business is always going to match the strength of your relationships. So if you struggle with feeling stuck, if you struggle with going backwards, if you're struggling with maintenance, this does not mean that you're a bad friend. This does not mean that you're a bad leader. None of that is coming out of my mouth because it's not true. But you can work on strengthening the relationships inside of your organization, making them even better. They might be great, but make them even better. And you'll start noticing that as people feel connected, remember what I said, connection, they start doing more, acting more, producing more. Does that make sense? I'm going to open it up for about 3 to 5 minutes. And if anybody had any aha moments, I'd love to hear 1 or 2 aha moments from reading chapters 2 and 3, or levels, levels 1 and 2. If you guys had any aha moments. Anything that stood out to you? Anything that was like, oh man, that was just so good. I had to highlight that.
So in it's in section 2 talking about level 1. I just really liked like there was a part that said let vision for making a difference lift you and your people above the confines of a job's description and petty rules. And I just thought that was like super powerful because it wasn't even talking about just like you. It's talking about you and your person and your people, and let your vision make that difference and help rise above those. And I just thought that was like I immediately highlighted that because I was like, that is exactly like what we do here at Bravenly is we lift each other up and we elevate everybody above where they are. And I thought that like immediately made me think of everybody here.
I love that. I love that. Now, Jackie, let's apply that to your audience that's not yet with Bravenly. So you're
Mm-hmm.
spot on. We definitely vision cast with our teammates. But how can you apply that same principle to your audience? Because guys, don't forget that when you're talking about these levels of leadership, it applies with those who are already on your team. Yes, 100%. But it also applies to those that are watching you. And the more you rise in your leadership with those that are watching you, the more they say yes to you. So if you're struggling with recruitment, with enrollment, you typically need to move through the levels of leadership with your audience. So, Jackie, take that same sentence and how would you apply that sentence to reach your audience who's not yet with Bravenly?
I don't know. Um, Maybe just like uh having more relatable like building that relationship with them, number one, like
Hmm.
whether it's commenting, messaging, reacting in their stories, but also like having content that is relatable to them,
Yeah.
that can also help them feel like have the confidence to be like I'm not alone, they also like feel this way, they also have like these same struggles, because then I'm lifting them from that place of like I'm down in the dumps because there's somebody else that can see the light. I don't know, maybe that.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. It's about vision casting. right? When you follow someone on social media or when you even said yes to your person who enrolled you, typically, not all the time, but typically you follow them because you see where they're going. They've made it clear where they're going, right? We follow people that are going somewhere that we also want to go. So when you post, when you're on social media, when you're going live, when you're talking, you've got to become a vision caster. People don't just by human nature, people don't want to stay where they are or go backwards. That's pretty rare. They usually want to advance somehow. They want to go someplace. They follow people because they're like, man, I aspire to be like them. Or, man, I know where she's going. I want to go the same place. Man, I see her goals. I want to go with those goals too. You see how it's forward? It's forward. So that sentence that you brought up, Jackie, talks about vision casting not only with your team to get them to go with you, but in order to get people to say yes to you, whether it's products or business or both, you've got to be very, very, very clear and repetitive on where it is you're going so that it inspires them to want to go with you. Does that make sense? And the more you cast that vision, the more you talk about that, man, the more, and it's excitement. You might not know exactly where you're going, but man, you feel it. You feel it, the direction you're going. This is where you want to go. This is, I'm taking people with me. That inspires people to go, well, where's she going? Maybe I want to know. Maybe I want to go too. I'm going to keep watching. Great point, Jackie. Anybody else that wants to say something real quick? I'm going to read some comments over here. Oh, I love that, Candace. She says, I'm in the dark with a sleeping baby, but holy cow, reading level 1 descriptions makes me, what is that, 100,000 or 1,000,000% thankful for our leaders here. I've never felt unseen or just like a number or negative in any way. I feel valued, appreciated, loved, and cared for. I love that, Candace. Thank you so much. That speaks volumes about just the team you're on. Hannah, I'm looking to you as well. You're a great leader. I love that, Candace. Absolutely. Anybody else that wants to share something, whether it's the chat or maybe an aha moment, or something that they just really appreciated in this section?
I'll share, Tara, briefly. I really loved how, um, guys, I'll be honest, I've been reading and listening to the audio because I'm trying to like make sure I catch it all. But it was so good and it's so powerful to listen to the perspective of a leader like John Maxwell. I mean, he's amazing. But what I loved was that he talked about the personality that leads a little bit too gently, and then the personality that leads a little bit too strong. And so it's cool because we might think, oh, the way to lead is like get to their hearts and like encourage them on. But then he also said that can be detrimental. So we also have to be like, we actually have to be a split of encourager, connection, hearts, and tough love sometimes. And this is something that I'm talking to my team about and just leading heavy in as a leader because we have to be able to connect with people's hearts and build that trust, but we also have to get permission from them to hold them accountable for their goals because this we can't like Tara said, our time is valuable. Everyone's time here is valuable. So as leaders, our goal should be to duplicate leadership, and that's higher levels, right? But like duplicating leadership is teaching people to stand on their own 2 feet. And when you're at maybe a 1 or a 2, you're building other leaders, but we have to establish right out the gate a solid balance of tough love and support. And if we can demonstrate that efficiently, and teach that, right? We like show by our example, then we are inadvertently building leaders of levels 1, 2, and 3 under us by demonstrating that because they see the effectiveness of our tough love and our support married. And so I love that he said he kind of made that mistake sometimes early on. I think he was in ministry, and that stuck out to me because I'm a tough love person, but because of Jesus, I think of people's hearts. But it's really important to make sure we're doing both for our team to rise up as leaders.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I've seen both and. I've seen the heavy workers burn their team out. I've seen that. I've also seen the other side where you just love them so much, but then nothing gets done and it becomes this social community rather than this social community with production. It needs to have both. And so there's a couple things, and I know I've said this to Hannah. I know I've said this to Kim on the call. Sometimes, and I love what you said, Hannah, where it was like sometimes we either have to ask permission or reiterate some things that we've heard to then talk about the thing, right? So you hear where they are, you listen, but some of my favorite ways to ensure that I can go to that next step is I'll say one of two phrases. Hey, do I have permission to talk to you just honestly if I can help you? Do I have permission to do that? And if they say yes, then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to tell them something that might be not hurtful ever, but that might be like, okay, we're going to move the needle. Or it might be, hey, I've heard you say this in the past, that this is what you want. So I'm going to meet you there. Right? I know I've said that to Kim recently. I know you've said this to me in the past that you want this, so I'm going to give that to you. Right? And that's where the permission's coming into, where I can then coach. So it moves from the heart, the listening, to then moving into the coaching piece, right? I love that you brought that up, Hannah. That's a great point. A great point. I love what Julie said too as we wrap up. She says leadership is less about what you do, and it's more about who you are to that person. That's the relationship piece. That's right, Julie. That line stuck out to her. All right, you guys. Well, I'm going to drop in the chat the recording of tonight so you can refresh it. Make sure your teammates, guys, we have a lot of people in this book study and we only had, 10 people show up. So we have a lot of people that we need to make sure watch this recording. So please, as leaders, tag your uplines, sidelines, downlines, all the people to watch. And then I'm going to put the questions, the application questions in tonight because I've got those ready. And then the next week, so remember let me look at my calendar here, make sure. Yeah, so next week we will not have a call because we will be at Leadership Summit. So the next time we'll meet is the 26th and we'll go over levels 3 and 4. Okay, but let's keep that chat popping and answer those questions. All right, you guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for spending your Sunday with me. I love you guys.